Welcome to Sprinkle with Hope podcast and your host, Shane. Today, we have a guest, Petia Kolibova. She actually, we got in contact, I think in April of this year. Now we're in August, the end of August. So it's been on our books for a long time. So we're really glad Petia is joining us. She is a woman's transformational coach who helps women who have been pushed down and been playing it small due to toxic relationships or unhealed childhood trauma to create a life that is true to them and their sole purpose. Her mission is to help women who are on the path to healing from past wounds move through their limiting beliefs and internal blocks so they can finally do what they want to do, what they feel good to them, and serve other women in a powerful way. Petia, thank you so much for joining us today. We are really looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you so much. What an honor. What an amazing way to start the day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love it.
It is. It is. So I gave our listeners, a pretty high level about what you do, but tell us why you got in this, why you do the things that you do, and we always like to know people's why. So tell us why you do what you do.
Such a brilliant question, because I feel like it's so easy to look at people and where they are in life and what they are doing, right? And I feel that that's kind of cool. Like you can look at people's bios and things like that. And what really connects us as human beings are really the stories. Because when you hear someone's story, then you're like, oh my gosh, you too? Like, I thought it's just me, the weird one, the different one. So when people look at me now and they see my, successful online coaching business and traveling the world now, I'm in the middle of the packing. I'm moving out tomorrow, actually.
Wow.
So
It was unexpected. So trust me, I wouldn't have anything scheduled the day before, but
Yeah.
we were scheduling it, like you said, from April, but we're moving to Mexico, Tulum unexpectedly. So it's interesting to see where the life, wind blows you.
Yeah.
And I just got married past month with the love of my life. So when you look at my life, it's everything amazing. It's almost these butterflies and rainbows, but let's stay grounded and in reality, right? Nothing, it's always perfect. But I got here because I was in fear of my life. I was in survivor. I grew up physically and mentally abused with my stepfather, which led me into thinking I'm unworthy, unlovable. When I was 18, I attempted to suicide. I was struggling 2 decades with eating disorder and hating myself, hating my body, hating my life. And it was just like a loops. And I felt that I kept running because when I was 20 years old, I left to London, then from London to Spain, then from Spain, I'm home here now, 11 years in the United States. But it was constant, living in a when land, when I have the money, when I have the relationship, when I have the body, always this when that was really behind me and always pushing me, telling me I am not good enough and I'm not doing enough. And what really helped me to change was when I was getting into deep depression around my 30 years old. I feel like we get women into midlife crisis in our 30s when we realize, what the heck am I doing with my life? And this can't be it. This can't be all. And I started to search, and it was almost a decade ago, how to be happy, how to overcome toxic relationship, because I was married back then and my husband was a narcissist. I didn't know any better, right? Looking at my stepfather. So thank goodness I found online Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer and Les Brown and Tony Robbins. And I literally started to brainwash myself. Instead of listening to the inner critic and myself and my depressive, negative thoughts, I start to listen to them. And that's why I love the name of your podcast. That was the thing that I truly needed to survive. Back then, what's really survivor, I needed a hope.
Yeah.
I needed hope that it can get better. I needed hope that this is not it. I needed hope and see other people who are good people, who are living a good life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a short story made long.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack right there, Petia. You gave some really tough things that you struggled with. And we really appreciate you being open and honest about those things, because we also feel like it is the stories of people where we really learn from each other.
Absolutely. And that's like why I am so open to share, because it makes no good for me keeping it inside, and it makes no good for other people sitting in it alone. And that's why I started to work with women. And, 5 years ago when I left corporate, I had social media marketing agency, and I realized like, okay, this is cool. I make money, but it's really not like, this can be it. Because I was working so much, 7 days a week. I'm like, so you leave 6 days a week work to work 7 days a week? This makes no sense. So then I shifted in a couple of years and started, whatever label you want to put it, transformational mindset, life. It's truly all about alignment, aligning yourself with who you really are, your purpose, becoming unapologetic. Hence then my podcast, Unapologetically Abundant, because I realized on my journey that when I became unapologetic, the abundance came with love, with support, with money, with travels, with freedom. Like abundance has many forms, right? So that was how I became who I am today. And that's why I do what I do, because I saw on my journey so many women are suffering quietly. They just suck it up. They just burn out. They will do anything for anyone, changing masks like a chameleon. And I feel like we made it so hard for ourselves. Like when you think about it in the past, right? The 50s, the women are home, taking care of home and the kids. And now we want to revolutionize. And this is not me talking like bad about what happened, but just like, we stepped into like this superwoman, put the cape on us, and I can be a mother, I can take care of home, I can be working outside of home, I can maintain a perfect body, perfect skin, I will be influential, I will be influencing the community, I will changing the world. I'm like, girl, you have 24 hours. So I feel like we declared we can do it all, and we thought, and I know it because I did it. If I ask for help, I'm weak. If I ask for support, people will think I'm stupid and I cannot do it alone. Why don't you figure it out? And so we suffer quietly. And then you see like women suffering with so many diseases, depression, anxiety, weight gain, thyroid, adrenals, everything is shutting off. Why? Because you think you're superwoman, and we're awesome. We're pretty awesome. And
that's right.
we are not like out of a different planet. As far as I know, I don't know. You never know. I mean, that would be like a different topic, right? Like, is there life? But it's just like, I feel like as women, we put so much on ourselves without asking for help, allowing help. And that's why along my journey as an entrepreneur, I realized that the feminine energy is very important. So many women right now, when you look around, they're walking in the masculine energy, and it's not masculine man and feminine woman. We both have both, but we get to learn how to use them both and when to use them. And I was so many years in my masculine because in the masculine, I felt protected. I felt safe. I got stuff done, right? And it was just like straightforward, fixer, protector mentality. But I didn't allow anyone to come close to me and help me and support me. And so when I introduced the feminine flow, which means being more playful, softening up, receiving, allowing help, all these things, that's when my business really attained time. And I'm working like literally 3 times more than I used to. I work 2 to 3 days a week.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so good.
So good. It's interesting as you were kind of speaking. One of the things that came to my mind is, I've heard this from various different sources, but that analogy of dis-ease, right? Like, what is a disease? It's at dis-ease. You're not at ease with yourself, your environment, what's going on. And so I was kind of thinking about that as you were talking, and this transformation that you started was because you started listening to these motivational, positive speakers, like Tony Robbins and, all of these other guys, Lewis Howes and all those amazing individuals that are, great in their field. And so, what are your kind of thoughts on that as I, mentioning this dis-ease or not being at ease with yourself and moving forward in a positive direction?
I love that. I love that you mentioned that we can be, noticing when we look around the dis-ease. And that's something that I did learn on my journey from Louise Hay when she's talking about like the emotions that we store in our bodies, how it shows up on a physical level. Like, for example, when you have a lower back pain, that it's like, unease with your finances and not feeling safe and secure, right? And it's just so beautiful how she put it and how much light she really put into our life. So I absolutely agree with that. And I notice it, on my body, on the days and on the times when I really push myself and I'm like, I gotta finish this, I gotta do this, and I don't need a time off, my body would just take it. Like, here you go, here you have a fever, here you go, here you have a sore throat, like even when you're not like speaking your truth and you have like scratchy throat and you're feeling it, so I truly believe that we experience this ease when we are not in ease with, like you said, with our environment, but also it's like who we are being. Am I living my truth? Am I just sucking it up, right? Am I just doing the work that I hate? Am I staying in a relationship that it's taxing me out? Am I, like staying in a body that doesn't feel good to me anymore? So it's really important to create that ease and flow. And this goes back like full circle into what I say. You can give me how many different labels you want, but the most important thing in your life, it's alignment. And alignment, it's feeling of ease, being aligned with who you really are, being aligned with being in integrity with what you're saying. Because if you say I stand for this and then in your life it doesn't show, this disrupt will show somewhere, whether in your environment and in the people and relationships that you're bringing into your life, or you're going to be experiencing it in your body, like reflection. So it's really important to know what do you stand for and what do you want your life to feel and look like, and then take an inventory. Because I remember one time with my mentor, I did exercise on my core values and what do I stand for, and then I took inventory of my life and I'm like, wow, nothing aligned, nothing at all. So I'm like, of course I'm tired. And back then I was almost always sick, whether it's sore throat, whether it's like colds and fevers and all these things. I haven't been unwell for past 4 years now. I went through healing for 2 weeks with everything that's going on. But, like I was well after 2.5 weeks. And right. I know my body shut down because I was traveling a lot, hosting retreats, and like I had so many emotional things. My grandma passed away. My grandpa passed away. I was getting married. So my body was under so much stress. And after 4 years of not being unwell and not experiencing any dis-ease, maybe I was tired for one day, lay down, and then next day I'm cool. It took my body to recover 2.5 weeks, which I'm feeling pretty fortunate.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I think, I was just listening to what you were saying, and I think a lot of us are going through very similar things in life, all these struggles, and we're not feeling well with our body or with our mind or just all these things that we've been talking about. And so was there a point that kind of was your aha moment where you said, okay, I need to take more control of my life and align with who I really am?
One thing that I love what you said, control. I don't like control. I don't like that word. Like personally, I don't, because I personally went through 2 decades, 20 years, which is still more than half of my, life, because I'm 37 now, of eating disorder, which was all about control. I cannot control what is happening outside of my life. What do I control? What do I eat? What do I drink? And what do I do with my body? So what I do personally, what I prefer, is to like be empowered. Like what made you feel like more empowered and take it back to you, right? And again, that's just my personal preference. But I feel like so very often we try to control things, good luck with that, planning everything, controlling everything. And then whatever you believe, God, universe, so it's just like sitting up and looking down, like, yeah, good luck, have fun with this planning. I have something different planned. So I kind of released that because, of course, I'm a business owner. I have a team of 8 people, so there has to be a certain kind of planning. If not, I wouldn't be sitting here on time, right?
Right.
However, I release and detach from like, oh, it has to be certain way or it's wrong. I didn't plan to move to internationally to Mexico. There were so many things I didn't plan this year, and it happened, and you just learn to flow with it. What really was like there were 2 big points in my life. One was when I was 18 years old, when I attempted, to suicide, and I found myself in a hospital bed with pumped up stomach. And that was the point when I realized that the relationships that I'm creating in my life are very much reminding me of my stepfather. And that was the first thing, like, I get to do something differently. And that was just like seeds planted when I started to like reading even more. I used to be a big reader, but I read even more and more like positive psychology and studying really philosophy and psychology. That really helped me to shift a little bit my perspective. But the second point was around my age 28, when I was getting into this dark place. And like I said, like I was like depressed and, in the middle of the worst of my eating disorder, and I was sobbing on the floor, crying, and I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. I was physically and mentally exhausted. I'm like, why? Like, why we're even here? Why am I even living? It's like working hard and training hard. Back then I was doing fitness competitions too. I was exhausted and, getting no sleep. And that's when I'm like, okay, something has to change. And I realized that up until that point, I kept outsourcing my worthiness and happiness because I searched for that happiness. But it was like, oh, when I'm with a partner, or when I'm in a good collective, or when I'm part of something, then I can feel that I'm, like good enough, when I'm validated.
Mhm.
So those were like these like big moments when I realized like, something has to change, and that something has to be me. Because if I don't change, the things and the people that I'm bringing into my life will be always the same. Because I look back, and like Steve Jobs says, you cannot connect the dots looking forward, you can connect them looking backward. And that's what I was able to see. My past relationship, my painful moments, the agony and pain and hurt and suffering that I went through, and this is not making myself victim. I know we choose everything in our lives, whether we like it or not. It was by choice. I needed it to be who I am today, but I wouldn't like put it on my worst enemy if I would have any.
Right.
I don't know. I'm like, I don't have any that I know. Maybe somebody is my enemy. Tell me, but it's just like those were the moments when you. And one thing that I want to bring up, what I believe is you don't have to go through the rock bottom, because when I'm sharing my life, I was on a rock bottom several times over my life, but you don't have to wait until you are on a street or in an abusive relationship, or you don't want to wake up, or you have a suicidal thoughts. You don't have to wait until you're completely on the bottom on your knees. If something doesn't feel right in your life, it's probably not right. Like, we get to start trusting our intuition, our heart, our guts, really deeply develop self-awareness. That helped me tremendously on my journey, developing the self-awareness, first knowing my core values. The last couple of years, I've been studying a human design, and I'm so lit up by it, because human design, it's a modality that blends astrology, numerology, Kabbalah, I Ching, chakras. All these ancient modalities came to, us hundreds, thousand years ago. Now with the human design, we have a super easy way to understand who we are, why we are here, how we are interacting, responding to the world, how is world responding to us. So for me, gaining the self-awareness of who I am and not seeing myself as something is wrong with me,
Right.
Oh my goodness. It felt like finally I can breathe.
Yeah.
It's so big. We get to learn to understand ourselves. You cannot be outsourcing it from your partners, from your family, from your coworkers. You can't. You gotta know you, and then you can live that you. And who is meant to be in your life will come, whether it's clients, whether it's friends, whether it's family. They will come, and you will just feel completely different.
I love that. While you were talking as well, it kind of brought me back to a book that I listened to recently, which was Brene Brown, and she talked about vulnerability, and she's awesome. I love, I love her books. I love, the things that she says. And you brought us to your vulnerable state where you were pretty low, and a lot of people don't like to talk about those kinds of things because it's very personable, and it's the center of what at the time was your what you felt like was destruction and horrible things going on in your life. And so I thinking about that, being vulnerable, and so thank you for sharing your path with us to help us maybe see that maybe we didn't experience all of those things, but some of those things could be what others are experiencing right now. And you don't have to wait, like you're saying, to reach that rock bottom to overcome those things and find the right path. So thank you for sharing that. I like to ask the question, lately, what's something that is humorous or that brings you laughter about your life that you can laugh about now? What's something funny that's happened in your past that you would like to share with us? I love laughter, and I think it's a good way to help us kind of get over some of these things that we're dealing with. But what's something
Absolutely.
funny?
I love laughter too, and it's funny because I feel like with my husband, we always create something to laugh about every single day. And my grandma, she passed away just a couple of months ago, which is not laughable. However, when she was still here with us, I would call her every single day, and I would make her laugh. And that was just
Yeah.
like, oh, it was just such a soother for my soul. Like hearing her laugh and telling her like literally stupid things just so she laughs. Like, hey, did you know I love you like a crazy? I gotta remind you every 2 minutes just in case your memory goes wacko and you won't remember. And so she was laughing, and that laughter was like a baby girl. So it's just beautiful to find something you can laugh about. And we laugh, like with my husband, like I said, like we dance in a kitchen, and we like play with our dog, and like doing silly things, like even before we go to bed, like we laugh. And I think it's so important to find something like that, like playful, to bring into your life to soothe, because the laughter, the vibration in your body, it's so healing. You gotta remember it,
Yeah.
like that laughter, it's vibrating your whole body, and it's healing. It's like putting you back into the balance. I love using singing bowls to bring the vibration back into the balance. But a great laughter, it's such a good way. And like right now I cannot think about anything like specific that I do.
Sure.
But it's just like we do always something silly, like we make funny faces, and like play with, like, just looking at our dog, she's just so funny. So it just makes us laugh. Don't tell her.
Yeah.
But it's just, you see like how easy it is to
Right.
say or do something funny, and it's just releases the tension. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you shared that with us. We since we're brothers, we lost our grandma. I think it's been 19 years, and still doesn't get easy. My daughter told me yesterday in her school, she was asked who she wants to meet that she hasn't, who's passed on, and she said Grammy. So I thought, oh, that's really cool, because she never knew her. So that's good to have those family things. I'm glad you shared us. So Petia, as you know, hope is very important to Jason and I. It's our podcast name, and we, near the end of our podcast, we like to what we call the double down dose. Are you ready for this?
Sure. I don't know what is happening, but sure, let's do it.
So I have a question about hope, and it's simply this. Petia, how would you define hope?
First thing that really came to me, like to my heart right away, was a life giver. I truly believe that hope, it's a life giver. I have a friend who she had a cancer, and she's now healthy, and she's helping foundation that has the hope in it, the name in it. And I think that hope, it's really life-giving. It's a light. It's possibility that we all need in our lives.
Very good. I love that. I also love that you, for a second, those of you who can see, Petia, you closed your eyes to really feel what you're wanting. So I love that.
Yeah, that was awesome. I could tell that you really felt that. And so the second part of the double down dose, Shane and I created an acronym for HOPE, HOPE, which is heart, overcome, passion, and enough. And so I want to ask you, I know that, you've talked about self-worth and value, and that's some of the work that you do. So what would you say, or what would you say to others that may not feel that they're enough and their self-worth is maybe lacking? What would you say about that?
Such a beautiful question. And what really come to me right away is a mantra that I have created when I myself was doubting and not trusting myself and like my intuition, is you're perfectly made for your purpose. The moment you realize that you are meant to be who you are right here, right now, in this lifetime, the way you speak, the way you look, all of your past experiences, you are perfect the way you are. And that doesn't mean like this is it, you're done. It doesn't work like that. We came here to evolve and grow, like in nature, everything in nature, it's either growing or dying. So we came here to grow. However, you don't need to change to be lovable. You don't need to change to be respected. You don't need to change to be supported. It was the moment when I throw down all the masks slowly and surely, when I allow myself to be me and to be vulnerable, when the love was able to come in, when the support was able to come in, when we're not pretending we have it all together and we can do it alone. So if you're still struggling and you're still in the darkness, keep going. Like, this too shall pass. And you just get to find something that you can really value about yourself, whatever it is. And it's fascinating. Right before we jump on, I was recording my podcast episode that was supposed to be released this 3 a.m. and I kind of forgot it's Friday. So thank God for my team who messaged me like, hey, yeah, just like checking in. So, but I was just like really sharing there. We can be our own worst critics and see what we're not having or doing right. But when you can sit down and write down 50 achievements that you have created in your life, it's going to bring you a different perspective. And I don't care if it's like you were 5 years old and you attended singing competition, just walking onto the stage. It's a bravery and it's achievement. Like writing down 50 things, however big, however small. It might feel like too much at the beginning, but then you will start going and have it as an ongoing list, because that will remind you that you truly are perfectly made for what you came here to do and who you came here to be.
Such beautiful advice. I love it. Really good segue into my last thing. Petia, you shared some amazing things. And so we always want to give our listeners the opportunity to reach out to you if they want to. How can they get a hold of you?
So my favorite space online is Instagram. I'm always there. It's like where I'm like sharing in daily stories and bring others onto my life. So Instagram is just my name, Petia Kolibova, and you will probably spell it because people will be like, P what? I get it often. Yeah. So that's probably my favorite place, or my podcast, Unapologetically Abundant. Or for ladies, guys, you can connect with my husband. He's a men's coach. I work only with women. We have it divided at home. He's amazing. So for the ladies, I have a free Facebook group when I do trainings and invite guests, Unapologetically Abundant Women. So those are my 3 favorite places. I'm very easy, as you can tell, to talk to, and I couldn't be where I am in my life, and be so fulfilled and abundant if I would not have the people around me. So I'm really here to support those who want to create aligned and abundant life.
Very
Of
good.
that. And I agree with you, because I think that we are like those 5 people we surround ourselves with, right? And I think that's totally true. And how you're kind of saying, you're being part of that 5 for others to help them come out of their shell, be vulnerable, get over the things that they may be struggling with, and find that better version of themselves that they may not know is even there. So thank you, Petia, for all of your awesome advice and words of wisdom that you've shared with us today. It's been awesome. I've really, really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and also for really sprinkling the world with the hope. I think that we need it right now more than ever. So thank you so much for your time, the platform, and especially the work you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you, Petia.
Okay.